I discovered that my stepbrother paid to sleep with my cheating fiancée. I had to get revenge on them. My name's Henry, and I'm 29 years old. Life was pretty good, or at least that's what I thought. I had a steady job, a cozy apartment, and a fiancée named Nicole. She was everything I had ever wanted: smart, beautiful, and full of life. I still remember the first time I met her. It was at a coffee shop, where she spilled her drink all over my shirt. Instead of getting upset, she just laughed, and I knew right then that I wanted to know her better. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and within a few months, I was head over heels in love. Nicole and I spent almost every moment together. We went on trips, tried new restaurants, and shared our dreams about the future. We had plans to get married next summer, and I even had a ring hidden away, waiting for the perfect moment to propose. I felt like I was living in a dream, and I wanted nothing more than to spend the rest of my life with her. Then there was Matthew, my stepbrother. Growing up, we were practically inseparable. We played video games, shared secrets, and even had each other's backs through tough times. I always thought he respected my relationship with Nicole, but little did I know, things were about to change dramatically. One fateful afternoon, everything changed. I came home from work, feeling excited to see Nicole. She had planned to work on her laptop in our living room. I walked in and noticed that her laptop was still open on the coffee table. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to take a quick look at her email. I know, I shouldn't have snooped, but something about it felt off, and I wanted to reassure myself. As I clicked through her inbox, my heart raced. Most of the emails were from work or friends, but then I saw one that caught my eye. It was from Matthew. My stomach dropped as I clicked on it, reading the words that would change my life forever. Thank you for an amazing night. I can't believe I paid $3,000 for such an incredible experience. You were worth every penny, the email read. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I couldn't breathe. The words blurred in front of me as my mind struggled to comprehend the reality of what I had just read. Matthew had paid to spend the night with my fiancée. It felt like the world was collapsing around me. Anger washed over me like a tidal wave, followed by disbelief and heartbreak. I felt sick to my stomach. How could this happen? How could he betray me like this? I thought I knew my brother, but this was a betrayal I could never have anticipated. And Nicole? How could she do this to me? I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop across the room, but I was frozen in place. My hands trembled as I reread the email, hoping it was just a mistake, hoping it was some kind of sick joke. But it was real. There was no denying it. The evidence was right in front of me. I thought about all the moments we had shared, all the love and laughter. I had been planning our future together, thinking we were building something beautiful. But now, it felt like everything was built on lies. I couldn't understand how Nicole could look me in the eye every day, knowing what she had done. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. For a moment, I sat in silence, staring at the screen. Tears filled my eyes as the realization hit me hard. I was not just losing my fiancée, I was losing my brother too. Matthew had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The bond we had shared was shattered, and I knew things would never be the same again. A million thoughts raced through my mind. I felt the heat of rage bubbling beneath the surface. I wanted revenge. I wanted them both to feel the pain they had caused me. I thought about how easy it was for Matthew to throw away our brotherhood for a night of pleasure. I wanted to make him regret his actions. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. I knew I had to think clearly. This wasn't just about anger, it was about making sure they both understood the depth of their betrayal. I had to come up with a plan, something that would make them feel the consequences of their actions. I closed the laptop and stood up, pacing around the room. I could feel my heart racing as I considered my options. I didn't want to confront them right away. I needed to gather my thoughts and formulate a strategy. I knew I had to be careful, as I didn't want to act impulsively and regret it later. As I walked around, memories of our happy moments flooded my mind. The laughter we shared, the dreams we built together. They all felt like a distant memory now. I couldn't believe how quickly everything had turned upside down. I had trusted them both, and now I felt utterly betrayed. I needed to talk to someone, I grabbed my phone and called my best friend Jake. He answered quickly, sensing the urgency in my voice. "Hey Henry, what's up?" "I found something out." "Something terrible," I said, my voice shaking. I told him everything, from the email to my feelings of betrayal. I could hear the disbelief in his voice as I explained the situation. "Dude, that's messed up. You need to confront them. You can't just let this go," he urged. "I know," I replied, my voice heavy with emotion. "But I want to make sure I do it right. I don't want to lose control, but I also can't just pretend like nothing happened." After talking to Jake, I felt a little better. I knew I had to confront them, but I would do it on my terms. I would make sure they understood the pain they had caused. The need for revenge grew stronger, and I began to think of ways to make them pay for what they had done. As night fell, I sat in silence, plotting my next steps. I could feel the storm of emotions swirling inside me: anger, sadness, and a fierce desire for revenge. I would not let them get away with this betrayal. They would pay for the pain they had caused, and I would ensure that they never forgot the choices they made. I was ready to reclaim my life, my dignity, and my happiness, and I would make sure that Matthew and Nicole understood the true cost of their betrayal. I couldn't shake the anger from my mind as I planned the dinner at my mother's house. It felt like the perfect place for the confrontation. Everyone would be there, and I knew that I needed to face Nicole and Matthew in front of my family. The weight of the betrayal hung heavily on my shoulders, and I wanted them to see just how much they had hurt me. The day of the dinner, I drove to my mother's house with a mixture of nerves and determination. The familiar sights of my childhood neighborhood didn't bring me comfort. Instead, they reminded me of happier times, before I discovered the truth. As I parked the car, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to happen. When I walked into my mother's home, the warm aroma of her cooking filled the air. I was greeted with hugs and cheerful chatter from my family, but I could hardly focus on anything they were saying. My heart raced as I spotted Nicole and Matthew sitting at the dining table, laughing and joking like nothing was wrong. It made my blood boil. "Henry, you made it!" my mom exclaimed, pulling me into a hug. I smiled weakly, trying to appear calm even though my insides were churning. "Hey, Mom," I replied, forcing my voice to stay steady. I glanced over at Nicole and Matthew, who were now looking at me with expressions of curiosity and slight concern. I knew that once I opened my mouth, everything would change. After everyone settled down, my mother suggested we sit down for dinner. I took a deep breath, feeling like I was walking to my execution. As we ate, I could hardly taste the food. My mind was racing with thoughts of how to confront them. Once the plates were cleared, I decided it was now or never. "Can I have everyone's attention?" I said, my voice firm. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. I could feel the tension building as I locked my gaze on Nicole and Matthew. "I need to talk to you both," I said, my heart pounding. "What I'm about to say is important." Nicole's face went pale, and Matthew shifted in his seat. "What's going on, Henry?" Nicole asked, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the worry in her voice. I didn't waste any time. "I know about the $3,000, Matthew. I know you paid to sleep with Nicole." My words hung in the air like a thick fog, and I could see the shock wash over both of their faces. "Henry, what are you talking about?" Matthew replied, attempting to dismiss it, but I could see his facade cracking. "You think I'm just going to let this slide?" I shouted, my voice rising. "You both betrayed me. How could you do this?" Nicole's eyes widened in disbelief. "Henry, please, it's not what it looks like," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "Not what it looks like," I retorted, my anger bubbling over. "You think I'm stupid? You let him pay you for a night together. How could you?" I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, and I was no longer able to contain my rage. Matthew stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "You're overreacting, Henry. You have no idea what you're talking about," he shouted back, his voice equally furious. I stepped closer, my fists clenched. "Don't you dare talk to me like that. You think you can just buy my fiancée and pretend it's okay?" The room was tense, and I could see my mother looking worried. "Boys, please," she tried to intervene, but I was too far gone in my fury. The argument escalated quickly, each of us shouting and throwing insults. "You're such a loser, Henry," Matthew spat, and that struck a nerve. "Loser?" I'm not the one who paid for a night of intimacy with my brother's fiancée. I shot back. You're pathetic. The chaos intensified as we stood toe-to-toe, ready to explode. It was like we were caught in a whirlwind of anger and betrayal. I could feel adrenaline coursing through my veins, and my mind raced with thoughts of revenge. Suddenly, Matthew lunged at me, and we started shoving each other. The chaos was overwhelming. "Get off me!" I yelled as we wrestled, our anger boiling over. My mother rushed in, trying to pull us apart. "Stop! Both of you, stop it!" she screamed, but her voice was drowned out by our shouting. In the heat of the moment, I saw Matthew swing his fist, but it missed me and instead hit my mother right in the shoulder. "Mom!" I cried out, my heart sinking as I watched her stumble back, shock written across her face. "Are you okay?" I shouted, rushing to her side. But before I could help her, Matthew stood there, looking stunned and confused. "Dude, I didn't mean to," he started, but I was beyond angry now. I couldn't believe he had hurt her, even if it was an accident. Seeing red, I grabbed a wine bottle from the table. In one swift motion, I swung it and struck Matthew on the side of the head. The bottle shattered, and he collapsed to the floor, dazed and bleeding. "Henry, what are you doing?" Nicole screamed, rushing to Matthew's side, panic in her eyes. She knelt next to him, trying to help him up. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, and my anger was boiling over. "You both think this is a game?" I shouted, feeling a mix of triumph and devastation. "You've destroyed everything. I won't let you walk away from this." Matthew groaned as Nicole helped him to his feet. "You're insane, man. What the hell is wrong with you?" He spat, wiping blood from his forehead. "Just leave. Both of you," I yelled, my voice breaking. Without another word, Matthew and Nicole turned to run out of the house. They didn't even look back. I watched them go, my heart racing, filled with a mix of rage and despair. I had confronted them, and the chaos had erupted in a way I never could have imagined. My mother approached me, her face a mixture of worry and disappointment. "Henry, what have you done? This isn't the answer," she said softly, her eyes filled with concern. I felt a wave of shame wash over me. I had let my anger take over, and now I was left standing in the ruins of my family. The gravity of the situation began to sink in, and I realized that this was just the beginning of a battle that would change everything. "I don't care anymore, Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I just wanted them to feel the pain they caused. As I sat down on the couch, the adrenaline began to fade, leaving me feeling empty. I had wanted revenge, but now I was left with nothing but regret. The reality of what I had done started to settle in. I had crossed a line, and I wasn't sure how to come back from it. The door slammed shut, echoing through the silence of the room, and I knew things would never be the same again. The confrontation had happened, but now the real fight was just beginning. After the chaotic confrontation, I was left alone in the silence of my mother's house, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. Anger surged through me like a raging river. I couldn't believe how easily both Nicole and Matthew had betrayed me. It was time to make them pay, and I was determined to plan the perfect revenge. Sitting on the couch, I felt a dark cloud of rage hanging over me. I had never been one to seek revenge, but this was different. This was personal. I wanted them to feel the pain and humiliation they had inflicted on me. They had taken away my trust, my love, and my happiness. And now, I would make sure they knew what it felt like to lose everything. First, I needed to gather some information. I thought about Matthew and his job as a football coach at a local Christian school. It was a small community, and everyone knew everyone. I remembered how proud he was of his position, and how he looked down on people who didn't share his beliefs. It made me sick to think about how he acted like he was better than everyone else. I knew that he had a reputation to uphold, and that was going to work to my advantage. I spent the next few days plotting my revenge. I wanted to create something that would not only hurt Matthew, but would also humiliate him beyond repair. I decided to make fake photos of him in bed with other men. I knew how to use photo editing software, and I was confident I could create images that looked real enough to fool anyone. As I sat at my computer, the screen glowing in the dim light of my apartment, I began to brainstorm ideas. I needed to capture the essence of betrayal and deception in these photos. I imagined Matthew's face filled with shame and confusion as the images circulated around the school. It was a dark thought, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as I plotted my revenge. I spent hours searching for suitable images online. I needed photos of Matthew that I could use as a base. I found a few shots of him from his social media accounts, posing with his football team. He looked confident, maybe even cocky, and I wanted to use that against him. Once I had the right images, I started creating the montages. I combined the photos of Matthew with images of men, making it look like they were in bed together. I adjusted the lighting and shadows to make the images believable. I was meticulous, ensuring every detail was perfect. As I worked, I could feel my anger fueling my creativity. I wanted these images to be flawless. I envisioned the moment the photos were discovered, the shock on Matthew's face, and the whispers among the other teachers and students. It would be glorious. After a few long nights, I finally finished the montages. I stared at the screen, admiring my work. Each image was convincing, and I felt a sense of triumph wash over me. I knew that if I shared these at the school, it would destroy Matthew's reputation. The thought of his humiliation sent a thrill through me. But I didn't just want to stop there. I needed a plan for how to distribute the images. I thought about the best way to ensure they reached everyone at the school. I remembered that they had a bulletin board for announcements. If I could somehow slip the photos in there, they would spread like wildfire. I decided to print the images in high quality. I wanted them to look as real as possible. I went to a local print shop, my heart racing as I handed over the USB drive with the images. The shop owner didn't ask too many questions, thankfully, and soon I was walking out with several printed copies of the montages. Now I had to figure out how to get them into the school without being caught. I couldn't just walk in there and drop them off. That would be too obvious. I thought about it for a while and decided that I would have to be sneaky. The day before I planned to distribute the images, I drove to the school early in the morning when there were hardly any people around. I parked my car a few blocks away to avoid suspicion. The adrenaline coursed through my veins as I made my way to the school, clutching the stack of photos tightly in my hand. As I approached the school entrance, I spotted a janitor pushing a cleaning cart. I waited until he turned a corner before slipping inside. The halls were empty, and I could hear my heart pounding in my chest. I walked quickly, glancing around to make sure no one was watching. I found the bulletin board near the main office, where all the announcements were posted. Taking a deep breath, I tacked one of the photos up, making sure it was visible. Then I quickly placed the others around it, ensuring they would catch people's attention. With the images in place, I felt a rush of excitement and fear. I knew that once these were discovered, Matthew's life would be turned upside down. I took one last look at the bulletin board, feeling a sense of power in my actions. It was time to step back and watch the chaos unfold. I left the school, my heart racing with anticipation. The moment I got home, I turned on my phone and waited. I could hardly focus on anything else, my mind racing with thoughts of how Matthew would react. The next day, I woke up early, my excitement bubbling over. I had a full day planned, but I couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation. I knew the images would be found soon, and I couldn't wait to hear the news. I pictured Matthew walking through the halls, only to see those images staring back at him. And I couldn't help but smile. As the day went on, I kept my phone close, waiting for any messages or notifications. I wanted to be the first to know when the chaos began. I imagined the shocked faces of students and teachers as they saw the photos. My heart raced with the thought of Matthew's humiliation. Finally, around noon, I got a message from Jake. "Dude, you won't believe what's happening at Matthew's school. Everyone's talking about him." My heart skipped a beat as I quickly typed back, asking for details. Jake filled me in, explaining how students were sharing the photos and gossiping about what they meant. "He's totally freaking out. I just saw him in the cafeteria, and he looked like he was about to lose it," he wrote. A wicked grin spread across my face as I read the messages. I couldn't believe how quickly my plan had come together. Matthew's life was crumbling before my eyes, and I felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. The pain he had caused me was finally being repaid. As I watched the chaos unfold, I couldn't help but think about how Nicole would react when she found out. I knew she would be caught in the crossfire as well. This was the beginning of my revenge, and I was ready to enjoy every moment of it. The thrill of revenge was intoxicating, and I felt powerful for the first time since I discovered their betrayal. I was in control now, and I couldn't wait to see where this all would lead. The storm was just starting, and I was ready to unleash it. The plan was in motion, and there was no turning back now. I waited anxiously for news from Matthew's school, knowing that the photos I had planted would soon start circulating. My phone buzzed constantly with updates from people who knew him, and I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction as the chaos unfolded. It didn't take long for the students to find the photos. As soon as one person saw them, the gossip spread like wildfire. The pictures quickly moved from student to student, and soon they were all over the school. Some students shared them in group chats. Others printed them out and stuck them on lockers. It was everything I had hoped for. By lunchtime, the entire school was buzzing with rumors. I could picture Matthew walking through the halls, pretending not to notice the whispers, the stares, the laughter. He had no idea what was coming next. Then, the inevitable happened. The photos made their way to the administration. The principal, a stern, devout Christian man, was not amused. In a school that prided itself on values and morals, this kind of scandal was unacceptable. Matthew's reputation as a respected football coach was in ruins, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the school took action. By the end of the day, I got the text I had been waiting for. Matthew's been fired. They called him into the office and let him go on the spot. A surge of satisfaction rushed through me. It worked. My plan had completely destroyed his life, just as I had hoped. I imagined Matthew packing up his things in a panic. His career ruined. His respect in the community shattered. The thought of him walking out of that school in shame brought a smile to my face. But I wasn't done yet. Now it was Nicole's turn. The betrayal from her had cut even deeper than Matthew's. She was supposed to be the woman I was going to marry, the person I trusted more than anyone else in the world. And she had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I wasn't just going to let her walk away from this without facing the consequences. I wanted her to feel the same humiliation and shame that Matthew had. I thought about the best way to go after her. I knew Nicole was very close to her parents. They had always treated me like part of the family. But I wondered if they knew the truth about what their daughter had done. Somehow, I doubted it. Nicole had probably kept it a secret, trying to protect her image as the perfect daughter. That was about to change. I picked up my phone, my heart pounding as I dialed her parents' number. It rang a few times before Nicole's father picked up. "Hello?" His voice was calm and familiar, but I was about to change that. "Hey, it's Henry," I said, trying to sound steady. "I need to talk to you about something important. It's about Nicole." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Is everything all right, son? You don't sound good." I took a deep breath. "No, everything's not all right. I found out some things about Nicole, about her and Matthew." "What are you talking about?" he asked, confusion clear in his voice. "I discovered that Nicole was cheating on me," I said, my voice cold. "With Matthew. And not only that, but he paid her $3,000 to spend the night with him. She accepted the money like a prostitute." The words were harsh, but I wanted to drive home the reality of what Nicole had done. The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. I could hear her father breathing, as if he was trying to process what I had just said. "That can't be true," he finally replied, his voice shaky. "Nicole would never." "It's true." I interrupted. "I saw the emails. I have proof." There was another long pause before he spoke again. I can't believe this," he muttered, sounding completely stunned. "I need to talk to her. I need to hear this from her." "You should," I said, my voice sharp. "I thought you deserved to know the truth about what your daughter has been doing behind my back. I trusted her, and she betrayed me." I'm so sorry, Henry. I don't know what to say," he stammered, clearly devastated by the news. "We'll talk to her." "I appreciate that," I said, hanging up the phone. I imagined Nicole's parents sitting in their living room, reeling from the bomb I had just dropped on them. They had always seen Nicole as their perfect little girl, and now that image was completely shattered. I knew they would confront her. and I couldn't wait to see how she would try to explain herself. A couple of hours later, my phone rang. It was Nicole. I didn't want to talk to her, but I couldn't resist hearing the desperation in her voice. "Henry, what did you do?" she demanded as soon as I picked up. She sounded panicked, her voice shaky. "I told your parents the truth," I said calmly. "They deserve to know who you really are." "You had no right to do that," she screamed, her voice cracking. "You've ruined everything." "No, Nicole," I replied, my voice low. "You ruined everything when you decided to sleep with Matthew for money. You brought this on yourself." "I can't believe you would do this," she sobbed. "My parents are furious. They don't even want to speak to me right now." "Good," I said coldly. "Maybe you'll start to understand the damage you caused." She was quiet for a moment, sniffling on the other end of the line. "Henry, please, can't we talk about this?" "No," I replied, my voice firm. "There's nothing left to talk about." Without waiting for her response, I hung up the phone. I sat back, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. The plan had worked perfectly. Matthew had lost his job, his reputation destroyed. Nicole was left to face her parents' wrath and deal with the fallout of her betrayal. But even with all that, I didn't feel as victorious as I thought I would. There was no undoing the damage they had caused to my life. Revenge had given me a sense of justice, but it couldn't fix the pain. Still, they had both paid for what they did. That was something. With everything done, the dust finally began to settle. I had executed my revenge perfectly. Matthew's life was in shambles, and Nicole's world had come crashing down around her. Their betrayal had been paid back in full, and I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. It was over. I had done what I needed to do, and now it was time to move on. I wasn't the same person I had been before all of this. The hurt and anger had changed me in ways I couldn't fully explain. But at the same time, I knew that clinging to the past would only hold me back. I had taken my revenge, and that chapter of my life was closed. There was no need to see either of them again. Matthew and Nicole were dead to me now. I had no interest in crossing paths with them ever again. After what happened, I had a long conversation with my mom. She had tried to stay neutral throughout the chaos, but I couldn't ignore the fact that Matthew was still her son. I made it clear that as long as Matthew was in her life, I wouldn't be. I didn't want to hear about him or see him ever again. It was a hard conversation, but I had to draw the line. I told her I didn't expect her to disown him, but I wasn't going to pretend things could ever be normal again. "Just don't bring him around," I told her. "If he shows up, I won't be there." She understood, though I could see the sadness in her eyes. It wasn't easy for her, but she knew how deeply Matthew's betrayal had hurt me. I needed to protect myself from any chance of running into him again. For me, Matthew was gone, erased from my life. As for Nicole, I never heard from her again after that last phone call. She must have known there was no point in trying to fix things. She had already made her choices, and I had made mine. I imagine she's still dealing with the fallout from her parents. I don't know what kind of life she's living now. And honestly, I don't care. Nicole is just another ghost from my past, and I've left her behind for good. Once the chaos settled, I found myself in a strange place emotionally. On one hand, I felt lighter. The anger that had consumed me for so long was finally gone, but on the other hand, there was an emptiness, a quiet space where all that rage used to be. I thought revenge would bring me peace, and in some ways it did. But it didn't erase the betrayal or the pain. It simply closed that chapter. I decided that I needed a fresh start, something new to focus on, away from the mess of my old life. The idea of being in a serious relationship anytime soon felt impossible. I had loved Nicole deeply, and she had destroyed that love in the most painful way possible. Trusting someone again? That felt like a distant fantasy. Maybe one day I'd be open to it, but not now. Not for a long time. Instead, I threw myself into my work and personal hobbies. It was a welcome distraction from everything that had happened. I started going to the gym more regularly, pushing my body as a way to clear my mind. I even started picking up old hobbies that I had neglected, like hiking and photography. It felt good to reconnect with things I enjoyed, things that didn't remind me of Nicole or Matthew. Every now and then, memories of them would surface, but they didn't sting as much anymore. They were just moments from a past life, like flipping through an old photo album. The pain wasn't gone, but it wasn't as sharp as it used to be. I had learned to live with it, and over time it became just another part of my story. I knew I wasn't the same person who had been engaged to Nicole or who had once trusted Matthew like a brother. I had changed, hardened in some ways, but I wasn't bitter. If anything, the experience had made me more cautious, more aware of the people I let into my life. Now, when I think about the future, I'm not in a rush to find love again. I've learned that it's better to take things slow, to really know who you're letting into your heart. I'm not saying I'll never love again, but I'm not looking for it. If it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, I'll be fine on my own. I've learned how to stand on my own 2 feet. One thing is for sure, I'll never allow myself to be betrayed like that again. I've built walls around my heart, not to keep people out, but to make sure the right ones get in. And if someone does manage to break through those walls, they'll have to earn their place in my life. As for Matthew and Nicole, they're nothing more than faded memories now. I've moved on, and I hope they're somewhere dealing with the mess they created. But I won't be a part of it. I've made peace with the fact that our paths will never cross again. In the end, revenge didn't heal me, but it did give me closure. It allowed me to take back some control, to strike back in a way that made me feel like I wasn't just a victim. Now, I'm looking ahead, focusing on myself and rebuilding a life without them in it. I don't need them, I never did. The road ahead is mine alone, and I'm ready to walk it. Whether or not I find love again, whether or not I ever fully trust someone again, that's up to me. But one thing's certain, I'm done with the past. It's behind me, and I'm moving forward. Stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever comes next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next video. See you next time.